Okay, welcome to 4.3. Do adding and subtraction of polynomials. I'm sorry, 4.4. Adding and subtraction of polynomials. We're going to learn to add them. We're going to simplify the polynomials. We're going to simplify the opposite of a polynomial. Subtract polynomials, and then we're going to use polynomials to represent perimeter and area. Okay, when you're adding polynomials, you basically just drop all sets of parentheses and gather like terms. So we get negative 6x to the third plus 7x minus 2 plus 5x raised to the third minus 4x squared plus 3. I have a negative 6x and a positive 5x to the third, so that gives me negative x to the third. I have a 7x and a negative 4x squared, so that's going to give me a one's 7x and one is 4x squared, so we can't put those together. So I'm just going to do negative 4x squared. I'm going to do positive 7x, and then you have a negative 2 and a positive 3, so that just gives me a plus 1. If you can't gather like terms, if they can't go together, you just bring them down. Like this one here and this one here didn't have anything to gather. Again, when you have polynomials, you just drop the parentheses. You keep the signs of each of the polynomials that's in here, and you just gather like terms. So I'm going to drop the parentheses, so I get 3 minus 4x plus 2x squared minus 6 plus 8x minus 4x squared plus 2x cubed. So the 3 and the 6 go together, so it gives me a negative 3. You have a negative 4x and a positive 8x, so it's going to give me a positive 4x. I've used this one and this one, this one and this one. So now I have a 2x squared and a negative 4x squared, so that's going to give me a negative 2x squared. And then last but not least, I have a 2x raised to the cube that I can't gather with anything else. Now anytime you see the words and, all you're going to do is you're just adding them together. So you can go through and gather like terms. I have a 10x to the fifth here, and a negative 6x to the fifth here. So that's going to give me a positive 4x to the fifth. I have a negative 3x to the third there. I don't have any more in the others. So I have a 7x squared, a negative 8x squared, so that gives me a negative 1 squared, plus 2, so that gives me plus an x squared. And then now I have a 4 and a 7, that gives me an 11, plus 6, that gives me 17. And then I have 6x to the fourth and 4x to the sixth that I didn't gather with anything else. And so we just bring them down, and you are good. That is all of them. Okay, opposites of polynomials. To find an equivalent polynomial for the opposite or the additive inverse, you just change every sign of every term, and that's the same as multiplying by negative 1. So we're going to talk about this. Whenever you have a negative hanging out in front of a grouping symbol, you change everything in that grouping symbols, and you drop the symbols. You just change their signs. So now I have 8x to the fourth plus 3/4 x cubed minus 9x squared plus 2x minus 72. Alright, subtraction of polynomials. You just going to find that we're going to add the opposite of the polynomial being subtracted. It'll make sense. So the first thing you do is you write everything down that's the same, or the first set of parentheses comes down just like it is. Now, this right here, I'm going to change all these signs as I write them down. So that becomes positive 3x to the fifth minus 2x to the fourth plus 5x to the third plus 4x to the second. And then we just gather like terms. I have a 10x to the fifth and a 3x to the fifth. That gives me 13x to the fifth. I have a negative 2x to the fourth. It didn't pair with anything else. I have a positive 2x to the third and a positive 5x to the third, so it gives me a 7x to the third. I have a negative 3x squared and a positive 4x squared, so that gives me a positive x squared. And then I just have my constant left over, which is a positive 5. Again, we're going to practice some more. You bring down the first polynomial just as it is. And then we're going to change the sign of everything else. So now we get negative 4x to the fifth plus 5x to the third minus 6. And then we just gather like terms. 8x to the fifth minus 4x to the fifth gives me 4x to the fifth. I don't have a 4 or an x raised to the fourth power, so now I have a 2x to the third and a 5x to the third, so that gives me a 7x to the third. I don't have a 2, but I do have a 1. Simply it's just the 10x to the 1 to the first, and then our negative 6. Now this one says to write in columns and then subtract. I'm going to show you what that means. You're going to do it just like you're used to doing regular subtraction problems. Now, so 6x squared minus 10x gives us a negative 4x squared. What I do is I go in here and change all my signs. So remember, I change that to a plus, that changes to a negative, this changes to a positive, and this changes to a positive. That helps me remember. So let's start over. 6x squared minus 10x squared gives us a negative 4x squared. Negative 4x squared plus 6x squared gives us a 2x, I'm sorry, not x squared, 4x minus, I'm sorry, negative 4x plus 6x gives us 2x. And then 7 plus 4 is going to give us 11. Alright, a 6-foot by 5-foot hot tub was installed on an outdoor deck measuring W feet by W feet. Find a polynomial for the remaining area of the deck. So you remember the rules. We have to familiarize ourselves with the situation. So I'm going to draw a diagram. Here's our deck, and in here I have our hot tub. And let's shade it in red. And it is a 5 by 7, but we don't know what the rest of this is. Okay, we don't know what the rest of it is. So let's think about it. We want to find the area. Do you remember a formula for area? Area equals length, if I can get my pen to write, length times width. So the area of the actual deck is W times W, which is simply W squared. And then the area of the hot tub is 5 times W, which is 35 feet squared. And these were feet too, so this really is W feet squared, or W squared feet, either way you want to look at it. So now think about it. If we want to find the whole area of everything, how would you figure that out? We could say if we take away the area of the hot tub, we would know what's left, right? So if we would say W feet squared, how about let's phrase it this way. How about W squared feet? W squared feet, okay, minus 35 feet squared. It's actually W squared feet squared minus 35 feet squared. Basically, we're just saying w squared minus 35. And that would be our answer. Alright, good luck. I hope you're doing well in this chapter.